Hello and welcome to my training called Bitch, That Is Not Scaling. My name is Tay Daniels. I'm the founder of Breadwinner Energy, and I'm going to tell you all about me today, who I am, why I'm even qualified to teach this, what I've done, what I've built, where I've come from, and then I'm going to walk you through my signature framework for actually scaling a business, growing a business, and what is required from you if you want to make money in the next year. And I'm not talking about money like 2K, 5K, even 10K. I'm talking about actual fuck you money. Six-figure years, six-figure launches, six-figure months. If you want to make a lot of money, which if you're in my world, you do, because a lot of money means a lot of impact, means that you have bigger reach, you're changing more lives because you have more resources and time to do so. This is the training that will do that for you. So I'm going to give you a little bit about me because you need to know who I am and what I've actually done in my own life to make this a reality for you, as well as my signature method. This is what I teach to my students. This is the actual framework that I have copyrighted and that I teach. And then I'm going to tell you exactly how to do this yourself. These are the things that you need. And if you can actually build this in your business, if you can embody this method right here, you can create this in your business strategically and energetically, you will make money. Okay. So I created Breadwinner Energy. That is my company, as well as Breadwinner Energy Academy. Those are my two trademarks. And where did it come from? All the things, right? So I started my very first business in 2016 and I was 7 months pregnant. I had $100 to my name. I had no degree. I had wrecked credit. And I thought, I'm going to start a business. At the time, I worked at a 9 to 5, a mental health facility. And up until this point, I had grown up poor with my single mom in our trailer. And from a very young age, I had always said I was going to be rich and successful. Rich and famous is what I would tell people. And I would go around our neighborhood, just little me. My mom's at work. And I would tell everyone in the neighborhood I'm going to be rich and successful, and I would put on shows and dance and perform with the neighbor girl. And everyone probably thought that little girl is maybe out of her mind. Fast forward to 2016 when I had dropped out of college, worked at Hooters, had nothing in my life that said I would have success. And I said, I'm going to start a business. I'm going to quit my 9 to 5. I have no money. I have no credit cards. Nobody's giving me money. I couldn't get a loan or a credit card if I wanted to. And I'm just going to start a business as a virtual assistant. And I did that. And I started my virtual assistant business and I did anything I could to make money and stay home with my daughter. I would email people, I would do cold outreach. I was hell or high water. I was hell bent on creating this success for myself. I didn't care what it took. And so through that journey, I was married to someone who was abusive, an alcoholic, not supportive, in the military, and he had all of the control, he had all of the money, and he made all the decisions. And so in 2018, I made a decision that I was going to leave that relationship and I would forever have every single thing that I wanted for myself. I would have my own money, I would have my own freedom, so that I would never be put in this situation again. And as I locked myself in the bathroom for one last night before he went out drunk with his friends, and after I put my daughter to bed, I would lock myself in the bathroom. And in that night, I sat on the floor and I said, I will never do this again. I will never be in a place again where I do not have freedom. I don't have my own money. I don't have the things that I want for me. Unlocked myself out. I took all of his things and removed them out of our apartment and set them outside of the door, and I was done. And that was it. And from that moment on, I decided I was going to have whatever I wanted. Now, at the time, I did not have enough money in my business to fully fund our life. So I applied for a 9 to 5 and I went through 3 interviews for this job for $40,000 a year. And at the very last interview, they picked someone else who had a degree, even though she didn't have more experience than me. And that was the best thing that ever happened to me because 6 months later, I had a booked out agency. And that was how my journey started. So from there on, I decided to have an agency, grow my agency. In 2019, I met my now husband. In 2020, I began coaching. 2021, I became a certified life and business coach. I trademarked Breadwinner Energy and Breadwinner Energy Academy. I made my first 6 figures, my first 10K month, my first 30K month, hired my team. I've now since then scaled a 7-figure collective brand. I have a global brand, and I have taught thousands of women how to rise from the literal ashes of hell to create an empire, to create success, because every woman in my world has been initiated, has been through some kind of death and rebirth, has been through hell to create a different life for herself. And that is what she is meant to share with the world, to create change, to create impact and money. And that's what I'm going to teach you today. So this, through my journey and years of being in business, now 10 years being in business, I created this exact framework from all of the things I taught, all of the things I learned, all of the lessons, all of the business, all of the things I've condensed down into these four categories. And if you want to make money next year, if you want to scale your business, if you want to grow your business, if you want 10K, 20K, 30K, 40K months, if you want six-figure years and six-figure launches, because you know that you are meant for impact and you are meant to change lives and you are meant to have an empire, this is how you're going to do it in these four things, which is your energy, your identity, your foundations, and your embodiment. And we're going to break those down today, what they are, what they're not, and tangible, actual things that you can do and recognize the gaps that you have in your business right now. Okay. So the first thing I teach is energy. This is non-negotiable. This is the cleanup of your shit, the cleanup of your shadows, the cleanup of all the things that are blocking you and your success. And most people think it's something that it's not, or they're only focused on mindset and better thoughts. And while better thoughts are helpful, if you cannot get your subconscious mind and programming and shadows cleaned up, you cannot pass this place. You'll keep going back to these limiting beliefs. You'll keep going back to whatever it is that is holding you or blocking you from success, or you will even create it and then you will sabotage it, right? Because of your subconscious programming. Whatever your subconscious mind believes to be true is what your computer, your body, right, is operating out of. That is non-negotiable. Every single time I would create success, create money, create the things that I wanted, I wasn't able to hold them because of self-sabotage, because of my shadows, because of my programming. And after coaching thousands of women, and I used to coach a program called Group Coach School, and I taught thousands of women how to build group coaching programs, how to launch them. And I always had these three groups. I would have the group that would exceed and would make a lot of money, and then I would have the group that would get a little bit of results, but not, not the like the six figures, the big ones. And then I would have a group of people who got little to no results. Everybody showed up, everybody came to coaching, everybody had the same process that I gave them. So why was group A getting so many results, big results, fast results, and group C was getting nothing from the exact same process, even though they all came to coaching? And it came down to a few things, which I'm teaching today, right? It came down to your energy that you're operating out of, your shadows and your subconscious programming, and it also came from your identity and the level of embodiment behind the strategy. And this was why when I completely burned down my business in early 2024 after a six-figure launch, I burned it all down. I got rid of offers, I got rid of team, I got rid of every single thing. I went through my biggest rebirth ever to come into this, which is clearly understanding why the strategies didn't work for every single person. What was holding people back from actually having the results, even though they had the strategy? And it always came to these three categories of energy, subconscious programming and shadows, identity, and embodiment. And if you don't have those, there is no amount of strategy that can fix your issues. None. There's no amount of strategy that someone can give you. And that is probably why you've invested in courses and programs and offers, and you go to those and some people are having results, but you're not. Some people are creating the life that they want, the business they want, and you're not. And it's not the coach and it's not the container. It's that you don't have this exact process. And that's what I'm going to teach you today. Okay, so the first thing is cleaning up your shadows. So over here I have like a full page of notes so I don't miss anything, and I don't want to leave anything out because I have so much, so you might see me looking over here. Okay, so we also have to regulate your nervous system to be able to hold visibility, right? So first we need your subconscious brain to get on board, and then we need your nervous system to get on board so that you can go out and create the results. Now, this is what people think is I have to do a lot of inner work first before. And this is kind of true and kind of not true, because while the inner work is required and we do need to do it in order to, right, do the things, it also is a back and forth between doing the inner work and then going out and applying and then regulating, right? And then going out applying, regulating, go out applying, regulating, right? Because if you completely remove yourself from all triggers, you're going to feel like, oh, I'm not triggered anymore. And then you re-enter yourself back to where you could be triggered. Now you're triggered. Your job is not to not be triggered. Your job is to get triggered and then actively show your nervous system that it's okay to be triggered and regulate through that as you keep going, right? And for some of you, you might actually know this. Maybe you've learned this through relationships or through healing, right? Because the women in my world, you're spiritual, you're a healer, you're a medicine woman, you've walked through something, so you've likely done this work, but have you done it when it comes to business, right? Because if you're still treating your business like a side hustle, like a very expensive hobby, you're not actually operating out of your CEO identity, right? And you're not actively working through these blocks through money, through business, through strategy, through decision making, this is the work that is required. So even though you probably know a lot of this information, are you actually applying it when it comes to business? Okay. So this could come in when you're not owning, like you're not owning your power. You're not owning your voice and you're watering it down. And maybe you're asking AI or friends or your coach to write it for you because you have not fully been embodied, right? And comfortable in your own voice because you know that that could create, right? Maybe people are mad at you. You share your story, maybe your family's like calling and texting you and they're mad at you and you don't want people to be mad at you and you want people to like you and you want to be relatable. And that is where brands and businesses get totally overlooked. And then somebody else gets hired, not because they're better than you, but because they are embodied in their own energy, their own magic, their own shadows. They know exactly where their blocks are. And they have said, I know this is how I am. I know this triggers people. I know I'm not for everybody. And so I'm going to be louder and bolder and more authentic so that I'm attracting the people I want and getting rid of those I don't, right? And for you, your family and friends might not always get that. Your partners might not always get that. Your job, though, is to stop putting yourself in this box of will people like me? What is comfortable? And to get outside of that box regularly to decide this is actually who I am without programming, without being told, without the voice in my head that's actually not even mine that I've been told to be. Right? And so we have to get off this emotional roller coaster of these constant, everything is drama. Everything is like every decision is like this big drama, like, oh my God, well, what if I niche down and then I have to change my niche? Exactly. That's what leaders do, right? If you're not being in your leader energy, what usually happens is you're afraid to make sound decisions. So you're afraid to say, if I niche down and I'm really micro specific, I'm leaving people out. Not true. Because when your niche is so widespread that everyone's like, oh, I'm not really sure if this is me. Now you've left people out. Now you've left money on the table versus saying, this is exactly who I help, what I do, how I help them, and the results I get them, right? Being solidified and like this is the decision, this is who I help, that is the work that is required. But what will happen is as you go to make these business decisions, your subconscious programming and your nervous system are going to be like, nope, that's not safe. Nope, don't do that. Nope, we don't want you to do that. That's not safe. That's not safe. That's not safe. And your job is to clean that shit up. Okay? Here is what is not going to clean that up. Journaling 3 times a day, affirmations in the mirror. You're so rich. You're so this. You're so that. How many of you here have spent so much time journaling and affirming and writing out your future, but then nothing changes, right? And you're told you can just manifest it. Nothing changes because you're not actually rewiring your subconscious. You're not facing your shadows. Where did they come from? Why are they here? How do we alchemize them, right? So you're manifesting clients or trying to manifest clients, right? Or you're asking your spirit team, but you're not taking any decision, like you're not embodied in any decision making. You don't have an actual process and a system to call in clients and know how to do that on repeat because you're saying like, the universe will provide for me, spirit will provide for me all the time. And while that could have been true, that is not a way to run an empire or scale a business, right? Bitch, that is not scaling, right? So we have to be able to. Now, I want you to remember that as you grow and as you scale and as you make more money, what will happen is there will be a bright light enhancing all of the things, all of the shadows, all of the programming. It will just enhance it. Okay. I used to think when I make more money, this will get better. When I make more money, I will have more freedom and more things and more this and more this, and I will feel better and everything will be better and everything will be easier. And that was so far from the truth. The more money I made, the harder it got. The more money I made, the more afraid I was that, oh my God, I'm going to lose it and it's all going to be taken from me. And then what will happen? The more money I made, the more it shined a really bright light on every single thing I needed to clean up, right? My anxious attachment, my avoidance, my abandonment issues, my insecurity, my self-sabotage. And I wasn't even able to hold that level because it literally will shine a bright light on here are all the things that you're avoiding and you're not cleaning up. But it's just not scalable. If you don't clean it up now, you just have to clean it up later when you make more money. And it doesn't feel better when you have more money. It actually felt worse for me because when I was at the bottom and I had nothing to lose, I had absolutely nothing to lose, right? At that point, it would have been so much easier to just clean this up at that moment when there's nothing to lose versus when you have a lot more clients, a lot more eyes on you, a lot more visibility, a lot more money on the line, and now you're losing it. It's being stripped from you because you actually haven't done the shadow, the programming, and the nervous system work to hold it. That was worse. But people think it's always easier with more money, and that is so far from the truth, which is why when I burnt down my business and rebuilt it, I rebuilt it from this place of this is non-negotiable. If you don't do the nervous system, the shadow, the reprogramming work first, none of the others should I teach will matter. Because what will happen is we'll go to level 2, section 2, identity work. Identity work is acting as if it's already happened, embodiment of your higher self, making better, faster decisions, operating like a CEO, like showing up as a leader of your business. So let's say we do that, right? You come into my container, we're talking about that. We're talking about making leadership decisions from your next level self. Well, what's going to happen is I'm going to be then having to go back and coach you on your shadows, your programming, your nervous system, because they're all going to be in the way of you making those decisions. So now decisions are taking longer. You're making decisions out of fear, out of survival, out of lack versus out of, I know I can do this and make it happen, right? It's a totally different programming. But if you don't work on the programming first, then we have to keep going back to it. So then we go into strategy. Now we're doing programming work again, right? Now we're doing shadow work again. And there's a part of that that's always going to happen. But when you're more aware, you've already worked on it and you've already alchemized a lot of those shadows, it's really easy to catch them and be like, okay, I'm not going to make a decision from this place. I'm not going to make a decision while I'm triggered, right? Now you have this conscious awareness around it that you didn't once have. It is required. When you when people want to be a part of my mastermind, which we only are opening twice a year, if you have not done this work, we don't even look at or accept your application. It is required because in that container, we're doing all scaling, all strategy, execution work. The whole year, we're executing and strategizing. You cannot do that if you haven't done the foundation work, if you haven't done the programming work, okay? And this is not like fix your money mindset, think better thoughts. That is bullshit. That's absolutely bullshit. I've been through so much trauma in my life from losing my dad to suicide when I was young, sexual assault when I was young, abusive relationships. Like I have been through the thick of trauma stuff and a better mindset did not work. A certification did not change it, right? Getting life coach certified did not change it. It is so much deeper than changing your mindset, fixing your mindset, and that is the work we do, okay? So energy work will likely it, in my mind, there's a difference between like fluffy work that feels good, that's fun, that makes you feel like, oh my God, I'm in alignment, versus like doing the actual deep inner shadow work that feels like death and rebirth, that feels like absolute hell. And for me, if you're only doing love and light, if you're only doing the vibes and the fluffy and the feel good, you're not actually getting to down into the root and you're not able to pull it out and you're just like on the top, the pretty flowers, you're not actually doing the work required. And this work is also required because when we go to the step 3, which is foundations, and we start to pull out what your process is, what your method is, what your work is, and that work is all from ChatGPT, other people, other coaches, other courses, and it's not actually yours because you didn't birth it in your initiation, no one cares, right? If this work is not birthed from your initiation, from your death and rebirth, from your ashes, it's not like coded in how you show up. It's like this is like coded in my DNA, right? Like this was like a part of my process and a part of my journey. And if it's not there for you, then what happens is you always feel like an imposter. It always feels like shit. You're always wanting to change it and tweak it, and you never feel solidified. And then people don't really, the energy's not connecting with your audience. And now we have to go back and scrape it clean because you didn't do this work. So just do it first, okay? Posting fluffy content on the internet about vibes and quotes and feeling good and all of the wooey shit, avoiding power and clarity and fucking selling your offers is why you will not make money. You have to clean up your energy. People can read through that energy. I can read through that energy. Immediately, when I come to someone's page, someone's website, someone's socials, I can immediately read their energy. I can tell if they're being an imposter. I can tell if they're faking it. I can tell they're not in belief. They're not embodied in their work. Versus when someone's like really embodied in their work, I'm like, damn, she's powerful. Like you can feel that energy, right? You can feel that authenticity. That is what people will get an immediate read on before they hear your words, before they care what you say. It is not negotiable. Let's go to number 2, identity work. Again, non-negotiable before strategy because the identity that you're operating out of is what will manifest your results. So, whatever your life currently looks like right now, whatever results you do or don't have right now is a manifestation of the identity you're operating out of. So, if you're making decisions from fear, if you're making decisions from lack, if you're making decisions from when I sign another client, then I will invest. That's not the version of you that makes fuck you money, that builds the empire, that does the things. It's just not. It's not the version of you that is required to have this. And you must embody that identity and make decisions from that place before it will manifest into your actual reality. Okay. So, regardless of your current circumstances, you have to make a decision that you are going to act and think and operate differently in order to have different results. People have asked me for years. It's one of the biggest questions I get. Tay, how do you do it? I'm raising two kids at home as the primary parent plus the breadwinner. I've been in business 10 years. I've created multi six-figure years, six-figure launches, seven figures collectively. And I came from nothing and I had nothing. Couldn't even get a credit card, couldn't get a loan, didn't have a trust fund, right? Still to this day, totally self-built. How did I do that when I've come from nothing but circumstances that showed me otherwise? Because I made a decision not to make decisions from fear, but from the life I actually want. If I wanted to make six figures, I invested $10,000 in a coaching program. Had never made $10,000 months. Never. Right? I was barely making like 3 to 5K inconsistent months. I was working 40 to 60 hour weeks, and I decided to spend $10,000 to join a container. And when I joined that container, I sat in the classes, I got the coaching, I asked for coaching, I showed up, and I implemented it, even when I was scared. Even when I was scared, I made a conscious decision that I'm going to act as if this is the life I want. And I'm going to make decisions from that place. And I will tell you, I've made some really, really big, risky investments. 1 year in coaching, I spent $75,000. 1 year. And no, I didn't just have $75,000 sitting around and, oh, let me just spend this money. I have nothing else to spend it on. No, I wanted to fucking shit my pants. The decisions I make are not out of fear. They're out of alignment of the life that I want. And sometimes the alignment of the life I want is actually a scarier decision than doing what's comfortable, what's safe, what's easy. If you're only making safe, easy, comfortable investments and you're not stretching your capacity for the future that you want, you're going to keep recreating the same results over and over and over again. Okay. So creating the identity, operating out of the identity is like knowing who the fuck you are. Knowing who you are, knowing what you're capable of, being your biggest cheerleader, not your biggest critic. If you're constantly talking to yourself, it's like your inner critic, your inner mean girl, your inner child, kicking and screaming, throwing fits, bullying you, and that's the identity you're operating out of, I could not imagine scaling from that place. You have to be your biggest cheerleader. You have to want it more than anyone else wants it for you. You have to decide, I'm going to do the hard thing. I'm going to do it even when I don't feel like it. I'm going to show up as a leader first and walk the walk of what I'm doing, what I'm saying, what I'm selling first so that other people follow. And if you're not doing that, you're not leading yourself. Why would you expect other people think you can lead them? Why would you expect people to pay you? Why would you expect people to want to be in your world? Are you leading yourself first? That is required, right? Making fast, high level decisions in your business, not looping for 7 days, 14 days. Oh, I'll give myself 3 months. I'll give myself a year. No. In my world, like I'm giving myself a day. I'm giving myself a week max. And I'm making a decision. And then I'm going to love that decision and I'm going to act out of that decision. And if for some reason I have to change decisions later because I tried that and it didn't work, so fucking what? So what? You guys spend so much time in indecision, so much time in, I'm not sure, I don't really know. That is killing momentum. It is killing the energy, it's killing the vibe, and it's killing money and sales. Make faster, better decisions. Trusting your inner CEO more than you trust everyone else. You're like pulling your audience, free clarity calls. Well, let's jump on a call. Let me do some market research. No. When you go through my process, you make decisions and you know what you do because it's from your rebirth. It's from your initiation that you went through. Who you help, how you help them, your process, the results you get people is what we're going to talk about in number 3. You already know and you make the decision because you lived it. You've experienced it. We're not getting on fucking free clarity calls and ask, well, would you really like this? No. And most of the time, the people that take those free clarity calls are not aligned buyers. So now you're asking freebie seekers for their advice on how you're going to make money. No, stop doing that. That is not allowed. Okay? You need to stop holding in your power, silencing yourself, stop worrying about flopped launches and what will be, who fucking cares? Operate as if the version of you that you want to actually be or that your 6, 7 figure self would be, start acting as if that is you now. Stop rewriting your bio every week. Stop rewriting your niche. Stop being afraid to niche down. Stop changing your prices based on what people think. People are like, oh my God, it's so expensive. I can't afford it. Not my problem. You're not my audience. Not let me lower my prices. No. Stop blaming the algorithm. Stop crying about, I hate social media. You only hate social media because you're not good at it. And you're not good at it because you don't want to be good at it because you're not making better, faster decisions to be good at it. I always know what to say. I always know what to post. I always know what I'm selling. I always know what I'm talking about because I have a clear process. So right now, like I'm selling this container and this container is for this person. We go through X, Y, and Z process to get this result. And now from that place, I'm going to create content to talk to that person, and I have the energy and the aura, and I'm embodied in my work, and I operate out of the next level self. And when I post from this place of next level identity, next level self, next level energy, from what I've created, my strategy, people love to watch and follow. I become magnetic, and I don't have to cry about the algorithm. And because I don't waste time with, well, what is the algorithm doing? Well, what are the rules? And should I do hashtag? No one cares. If you're embodied in your work and people can feel it and you're convicted in what you do and talk about, none of that other shit matters. I don't do like a posting schedule, best time to post. I don't do none of that. I'm embodied in my process and my work. Okay. Which leads us to number 3, which is foundations, right? The work, the foundations. The number one thing we're going to do is get really, really clear on your niche, a micro specific niche, not spiritual entrepreneurs, not coaches and service providers. Those are wide bracketed niches. It doesn't put you in a category of one of this is what you do, this is who you help, how you help them and get the results. It is not clear enough. Okay, so number 1 is a micro specific niche. I'm going to get to like examples of this in just a minute. The second thing that is non-negotiable is a process or a framework, right? Steps that have come from your own process, your own journey, your own initiation. Here's the thing. Do not rip off somebody else's process. More than likely, if they're good at their job, they have it trademarked and copywritten. And if you steal it, you're just going to get a lawsuit against you, right? So that's number 1. Plus, it's not yours, so then you're going to feel like an imposter. Number 2, stop going to ChatGPT and creating like the 4 F's of whatever. No one gives a fuck. No one cares. No one cares about the 4 F's. And here's the thing is, none of you actually care about this process right here. Energy, identity, foundations, embodiment. It doesn't even sound fun. It doesn't sound fruity. It doesn't sound great. None of it. None of you care, right? The only reason that this process matters, number 1, is because when I coach someone, like in this class, right? And number 1, I have a system that I follow. People want to know that you have a system to get them results. So if you're like, I don't know, we're just going to like vibe for 6 months and I'm going to feed off your energy and then I'm going to just pull it out and ask the oracle cards. No, I'm not paying for that. I am not paying for, I help woo curious women open their channel so they can align with their purpose. What the fuck does that mean? I'm not doing that. That sounds like vibes. That sounds like I'm going to throw money into the abyss and align with the vibes. No. What is the process? What are the steps? Why does it matter? So when I'm teaching this, I'm going in depth, in detail about what it is, what it's not, why it matters, and what happens if you don't do it. That's what people care about. And then that's what I create content on. That's what I create master classes on. So when people come to my world, I don't think, well, if they go through this process with me right here in this thing live for free, they're not going to want to work with me. Why wouldn't you want to work with me? This is the exact reason you're going to want to work with me. Because I have a very clear process that I follow, that I put people through to get results. And when I walk you through this and you're like, oh my God, that makes so much sense of why I've only skipped to number 3 and I've hired coaches on strategy and content and messaging and marketing and none of it's worked, right? And now you're like, holy shit, I have all these holes in my business. And not only does this woman filling them all and explaining exactly what my problem is, but she also has a process to solve my problem. Because the truth is you could take exactly what I tell you today and you could go out on your own and you could try. You will fall back into old shadows, old patterns, old habits, old identities. You will not have anyone to talk to about the foundations that we talk about, to ask questions, to get it cleaned up. And then when you go to implement it, the shadows are going to pop up and you're like, oh my God. And then you're going to quit and you have no support system, right? And then 3, 6, 9 months later, you can be like, I should have just joined this space to solve all of these problems right now from my higher self identity to create the life and the business I wanted. That's why people work with me, not because I hold and hoard information, not because I only talk about stories and campfires together and woo woo. And then I'm like, yeah, come work with me. They're like, for what? Because I don't hold back information. I have a very clear process that I walk people through that has come from years of experience, hundreds of thousands of clients that I've coached, and my own rebirth and my own initiation of what didn't work for me. And now that I have that, I've created a clear process, right? That I don't need to, it doesn't need to be pretty. It needs to be real. It needs to be true, right? And that's what I've created. And then number 3 is results. You need to get people tangible results. Tangible. Not you're gonna feel better, you're gonna align with your chakras, right? Unless you can create that into something tangible so that they know when you come through this process and you do this work, you're going to leave and have this as a result. When you come through my 12-month container, you're going to leave as an embodied leader and CEO. You're always going to know how to make better, faster decisions. You're going to have clean foundations in your business. Your energy is going to be cleaned up. You're not going to operate out of shadows. You're going to operate from your next level identity. You're going to have the business that you can hold, and you're going to be so embodied and magnetic in your work that people are lined up to pay you. Tangible, specific results. So that, right? That is required. That is required. If you want people to work with you, you need to be very clear about who you work with, how you support them, and the results you get them. Okay. So I help, you could say, if I help woo curious women charge more, I would say I help tarot readers stuck with $33 readings turn their gifts into $3,000 programs. Super specific. Who do I help? Tarot readers. What do I help them do? Right? Go from $33 readings to $3,000 programs. They're going to be like, is that even possible? I don't even know if I can do that. Yes, you can. Here's how. And through content, I'm going to walk them through all of that, right? I help doulas build luxury birth support offers for high level clients who want next level care. Very specific. I help therapists ditch insurance, stop dicking around with insurance, and build a private pay healing business that makes thousands of dollars. I help shadow workers turn their stories into signature offers that makes $10,000 months minimum. I help business witches scale their rituals into results-driven containers. Very clear and specific. That's what we're going to do in my world, okay? Then the third thing is having a scalable offer. Stop doing one-to-one. I literally, for 3 years, taught one program on only group coaching programs. No matter how new you were, we built, launched, and grew a group coaching program. I'm the master of group coaching programs. You cannot make a big impact and change a lot of lives in one-to-one work. It will burn you out. You will be capped. You cannot scale it, bitch. You cannot scale one-to-one. Eventually, you just keep upping your prices, upping your prices, upping your prices, and now you're stuck in this loop of one-to-ones. Okay? Other than, I think I've taken like 3 one-on-one clients in the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. I only help group. More people want group. You know why? It's more accessible. It's cheaper because my one-to-one container is my highest level container, number 1. Number 2, you're surrounded by other people who are doing the work with you. So collective energy, you get better, faster results because you're watching me coach other people. And maybe you didn't even know you had that question and now it's been cleaned up for you. Maybe you didn't even think about the idea. Now it's been given to you because you're in a group of collective energy. I keep my group containers clean. I keep them processed. I keep them tight. And we have very specific rules on energy and how you act and how you carry yourself and how you treat others in my group. It is non-negotiable. If you don't follow it, we ask you to leave. That's it. We ask you to be a leader. Be a leader, be embodied, be a CEO. Act like an adult. Treat other people with respect. Do the work. Get fucking results. And that is what is scalable, is group. And it's non-negotiable in my world. Okay, foundations. The next thing is content, and we pull out content from the process. And then the last thing is sales. I teach sales like nobody else. I teach embodiment-based sales. I don't teach slimy sales tactics. I don't even teach like tactics of like this, write this email and say this weird subject line and say this slimy thing. No, sales are from embodiment. It's from story. It's from your own lived experience. It's from your own brain, your own knowledge, your own processes. And you are fucking so embodied in your work and what you do and your aura and your energy that you glow that people are like, I need to be in her world. I love her energy. I love her process. I love what she's saying. She gets me. She sees me. That makes me money. right? And I teach sales, actual sales processes, because like putting a CTA on your social media and saying like link in bio, no one fucking cares. That's not selling. It's passive. That's why you're not making money. Like you need to learn the actual skills of selling in business and stop being afraid to be sold to and stop freaking out when people sell to you. It's literally clogging up the energy of making money. It's required. You're in business. You're here to change lives. That happens when there's an exchange of money for energy. Period. You need to clean it up. Okay. So we've already gone through energy. We've already gone through identity. Foundations work was a micro specific niche with a process framework that gets tangible results. I gave examples going from one-to-one to a scalable offer, having really aligned clean content, and being magnetic AF with sales. And that leads us to our last one, which is embodiment. You must be embodied in yourself, in your energy, and your identity, and your work, and people can feel it. I make money, have made hundreds of thousands of dollars because of my story, because of my energy, because of my leadership, because of the way that I carry myself. Yes, so many people cannot stand me. People don't like me. People that I'm leaving, you're cussing, la 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 la. I don't care. I don't care. This is who I am. And if you don't like it on the internet, if you don't like it on social media, you're not going to like it in my coaching containers. And for the women who love it, they get big fucking results from being in my world. Period. Okay? You teach what you've embodied, what you've mastered. You teach what you've lived, not what you learned, not what you Googled, not what you took a course on. Your lived experience. Through all of this, like I'm giving you like literal tangible examples, I'm also tying in my own stories, what I've been through, like my own journeys, right? I'm tying in my own lived experience into the work that I've created because I'm embodied, because it came from my own life, came from my own process, my own journey, right? And I sell with conviction. I sell every day in my business with conviction because I know my work changes lives. Why wouldn't you want to be in there? Right? I'm convicted. That's why I make money. I don't care. People like, well, you shouldn't. I don't care. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do whatever I want. My Instagram, my social media, it's me. It's my life. It's my voice. It's my embodied work. It's like how I am and how I talk. No, it's not like perfectly grammar or whatever. No, like I'm from the Midwest, small town girl with a country accent. I don't give a fuck. And I'm gonna cuss and I'm gonna say the thing, but I am real, raw, and authentic, and I have good processes, and I'm damn good at business. Period. And if you don't like that and you want someone that's perfect and polished and chat GPT'd, I'm just not the person for you, and that's okay. Right? I don't, on social media, it's not like this polished, put together, presented version of me. And then you come into my world and you're like, who in the hell is this country ass woman? You get that version of me no matter where I am, right? Okay. Um, you don't need people to approve what you're doing, period. And in my world, we will get rid of this need for approval. You will approve, stamp of approval from yourself, and it feels so good. Okay. Okay. If you're teaching shadow work, mindset work, any kind of like embodiment work, and then you're ghosting your own triggers, you are not embodied. If you're ghosting your coaching containers and complaining about the algorithm and complaining about a coach and this and this and this and the industry and the economy, you're not embodied. Okay. This work needs cleaned up. Posting high vibe, sexy, everything's perfect, but then behind the scenes you're like broke and exhausted and miserable. You're not embodied. If you're not doing this work outside of when the cameras are off, you're not embodied. This is where you become your work. You don't just teach it. There's not like 5 steps to this. You're like embodied. Like, this is what I went through. This is what I know. This is what I've done. Let me change your life. And you make offers to change people's lives through that work. Okay? That is what my process is. That is what I do. If you're like, I want to know all of this, I want to learn all of this, I want to implement all of this, this is what I do in my world. So I want to first say thank you for being here. Thank you for sitting through this training. I know it was long, but I take what I do very seriously, and I don't want to leave you with like half-assed trainings where you're like, well, I got nothing from that. If you're going to sit in my world, I want you to get something. I want you to leave like, holy crap, this gave me so many answers to what I need to do to clean this up. So thank you for being here through this. If you want to go deeper with me, join the Breadwinner Energy Academy. It's 12 months long. You'll become an embodied leader and CEO. We will walk you through this process. There's over 50 hours of current trainings that you can get immediately the second you walk in. You can get access. We have free, I'm sorry, we have not free. We have live, we have live 90-minute calls 2 times a month. We have monthly guest experts. We have a full community, and then I do live exclusive intensives quarterly or whenever I feel like it in there. And it's only $2,000 to join. So if you want to clean all this up because you want to be a healer, a medicine woman, a spiritual entrepreneur that actually is an embodied leader who runs her business like a business, who makes fuck you money and impact and freedom, you need to join. You need to join. And right now, if you're watching this in my community in real time, you can join as one of 50 members. It's our Black Friday deal. 50 members at 50% off. So it's only $1,111 or 12 months of 111. And you not only get all of what I talked about today, but you also get to come to my intensive that I'm teaching live for 4 weeks. So from November 19th until December 16th, 4 weeks, I'm teaching you 6 90-minute trainings in depth on being a CEO, cleaning up your identity, cleaning up your energy, building a group coaching program, finding your micro niche, and I'm giving feedback to everyone in the room. So in between calls, you get feedback. This is a one-time exclusive deal I'm running. So 50 women, 50% off included in this live event. You need to be in the room. If you are in my community, if you've been sitting back and watching, this should have answered all of your questions. I better see you in there. As always, thank you guys so much for being in my world. Thank you for being a part of this mission that I'm running to help change the world, change women, change the way that women make money in the world. Thank you for being here. I'm very proud of whatever success you've created. It's time to go all in. Are you ready?